we have joining us here Tilke Judd. She's project manager for the Google Assistant at Google in Zurich. And she's been at Google Assistant from its inception. And she has a PhD in computer science from MIT. But what's really interesting is she's more international than any of you can imagine. She is born in Canada, raised in the US. She has a Dutch mother and a Canadian father, has a Swedish name, is married to a French guy, and she lives in Switzerland. That's exciting stuff. And today, she's going to talk to us about why talking to your devices will affect your lives. I'm super excited. I hope you're too. Please give a round of applause for Tilke Judd. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Imagine that you come home from work and after a long day at work, and you walk into your house and you say, "Turn on the lights," and the lights come on. And you go to your living room and you'd like some, relaxing music, so you say, "Play some jazz," and jazz music fills the room. And then you walk to the kitchen and you'd like to make something for dinner. So you ask the world's top chefs for something that's quick and easy but tasty. And after you put the kids to bed, then you go and you ask for your TV, for the world's movies experts, "What should I watch tonight?" And it provides you a personalized response. Well, you don't have to imagine it anymore, because that's what we're building. My name is Tilke, and I'm a product manager on the Google Assistant, and I work in the Zurich office. And today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we're building the Google Assistant and how that will affect your lives, especially in the way that you converse with it in a natural way. But to do that, I have to take a journey back. And let's do that by going back 20 years ago when Google started. And at that time, what you were really doing is you were doing a search on a desktop computer for some information, and it would give 10 blue links that all linked to websites of content on the web. And that was fundamentally amazing at the time. But if you fast forward many, many years, you come to a time when we had the mobile-first revolution. And there, everyone had a mobile phone in their pocket. And when they were out and about in the streets, they didn't want websites. They wanted answers to questions. And so we actually had to fundamentally change the way that we rendered the search results page to show answers to questions right up at the top. And now fast forward many other years, and we get to where we're living now in an Internet of Things, right? With lots of different devices, and you're living in an ecosystem of devices. And interestingly, some of those devices don't even have screens and don't even have keyboards. And this is where talking to the device becomes a lot more important. Now, talking to the device is a very interesting and very democratizing new kind of interface. And that's because it doesn't matter if you're young or you're old. It doesn't matter if you're tech savvy or not at all tech savvy. It doesn't matter if you're emerging markets coming online for the very first time. If you can talk to a human being, then you can talk to your devices. And if we are able to naturally understand you, and then you can actually interact with technology in this way. So this means that it doesn't matter if you're the Queen of England, or an MIT professor, or the boy on the back of this bicycle. If you can talk to a human being, you can talk to your technology. Now, another thing that's happened recently is a big change and significant progress in machine learning and AI. And that really, at Google, has brought about a lot of improvements in speech recognition, natural language understanding, translation, and in image recognition. And I'll show a little bit of all of these. But the first two in particular are very key for enabling this conversational interface, this voice-first interface, allowing users to talk to their devices. And it's also what enabled us to announce the Google Assistant 2 years ago. This is Sundar, our CEO, at the I/O stage. Now, I just want a show of hands here. How many have heard about the Google Assistant? Lots of people. How many of you have actually interacted with or used the Google Assistant? Okay, so we have some, but definitely not all. Okay? So what is the Google Assistant? The Assistant, as we define it, is a conversation between you and Google that helps you get things done in your world. So 3 key things there. 1 is the conversational dialogue, the back and forth. 2, it's the getting things done. That's our goal, is actually to help people do things faster so they get time back. And in your world, it speaks a lot to the context of the person, like trying to understand who they are, where they are, what they need, what their preferences are, so that we can give you personalized results. So since 2 years ago, we've come a long way. So it was initially launched on the phone, but it's come to many different devices. It's on the Google Home, the Mini, the Max. It's on Chrome OS. It's in cars, on the watch, the TV, and it's coming to more and more as we continue. It's also available in a lot of languages. Last I counted, it was in 9, but by the end of this year, we're going to be in 30. And that's always towards our goal of reaching the users wherever it is that they are. And not only is the assistant sort of grouped around you and on the devices that you have, but it also pulls from all the different products that Google makes. So in some sense, you don't need to think that you're going to go talk to Google Maps or ask Google Photos something or speak to Google Calendar. When you speak to the assistant, it can be a broker for all of those products, bringing them sort of as a layer across all of Google. Now, the other thing is that we can't do everything by ourselves. So we partner with third parties in order to help us create actions that enable users to get things done that we wouldn't be able to do on our own. Right? So we partner with a lot of these different partners. This is just a sampling. And they create conversational dialogues using the Google Assistant platform and that allow users to talk to that service directly. But enough talk about the Google Assistant in the abstract. What I'd really like to do is show you how it really works and some of the main challenges and things that are difficult that we had to solve along the way. So this is where you have fun and I try not to fail. OK, so we will switch over. Okay. Okay, so this is a Pixel 2, so it's a Google phone. And I can open that up. Okay, and so I can call upon the Google Assistant by long pressing this the button here on the bottom. And I might say something like, hello.
Hi, what can I do for you?
What's the weather?
Currently in Hanover it's 22 and partly cloudy. Today, there'll be scattered showers with a forecast high of 23 and a low of 14.
Wow, I never knew that Assistant could do an echo. So I want to pause there and point out 2 very important things. 1, I said hello, and it said something like hello back to me. It said, hi, what can I do for you? Right, so this is important because this is a fundamental change in the mental model of how users talk to Google. Before, if you said hello to the Google search page, you'd get Adele's song, Hello, as the first search result. Right? But now, when you say hello to the Google Assistant, you have the mental model that this is a person, an assistant that's responding. So you expect something like hello back, right? And that's now changed the way that people approach Google, and they're much more likely to actually talk to Google as well. So the second thing you see there is we can ask, what's the weather, right? So like any assistant, a good assistant should know answers to questions, and important questions like, what's the weather? Now, users can actually ask that in many different ways, and we find that people ask the weather in over thousands and thousands of different ways. And so that's what's really important about natural language understanding, is that saying users could ask for the same thing in a lot of different ways, and we need to be able to map that to the specific intent. So for example, I might say something like, I'm going to Zurich tomorrow. What's the weather there?
Tomorrow in Zurich, it'll be partly cloudy, with a high of 22 and a low of 12 degrees Celsius.
So I could ask for another place with much more words, or I could even say something like, do I need an umbrella?
No, it isn't raining in Hanover right now. It's 22 degrees Celsius and partly cloudy.
So you see, I could ask for the weather. I could ask for, how is it in Zurich? I could ask for, do I need an umbrella? I could even ask for, oh, is it raining cats and dogs? Those are such varied ways of asking about the weather. And our ability to map that to an actual weather intent and give you the weather, give the users what they want, that's part of the magic of natural language understanding, and an area that we've been making a lot of improvements in. So an assistant also, of course, needs to know a lot more things about the world. So for example, it could say something like, what is the population of the largest city in Germany?
The population of Berlin was 3.47 million in 2015.
Now, why is this interesting? Because not only did we have to know what is the largest city in Berlin, then we had to go figure out what is the population of Berlin. It's actually two queries wrapped up in one, right? So yeah, we have to be able to deconstruct those and provide the answer to both of them together. And users are asking a lot of detailed questions. In fact, something like the weather is a head query, something a lot of people ask. But then we get the whole long tail, which is all the insanely diverse things that people could ask for. So for example, people might ask, what is the list of rides at Europa Park?
Eurosat's rides include Silver Star, Blue Fire, Euro Mir, and others.
So that's pretty specific, but let's get even more specific. What's the height restriction of Blue Fire?
You must be at least 1.31 meters tall to ride Blue Fire.
So really, like knowledge, answering questions, even very specific questions. This is where an assistant can be helpful to you. One very fun kind of new type of response that we can answer is even more complex questions, like, what is the name of the film of a woman with red hair that keeps running?
I searched the web and found this movie, Run Lola Run.
How is that even possible? Right? I mean, the way that we can actually do this is partly built on the fact that we build on a large search engine, right? And so we can look at the query, which includes film and a woman with red hair and running, and we can search the web for websites that include all those three words. And then we look for what is the common entity in all those websites. These websites, they keep mentioning the same film over and over. So we're going to make a guess that that's what it's actually asking for. Okay, so an assistant also should be all-knowing. How about it knows every single language in the world? That would be very helpful. So I could ask it something like, translate into German, I lost my luggage and I need some help.
Ich habe mein Gepäck verloren und brauche Hilfe.
So this is actually one of the areas that also has grown significantly based on machine learning in the recent past. And it's amazing what we can do in terms of offering a quick solution for translation. But you know, not only does the assistant know things about the world, I want to teach it things about me. So I could say, remember my bike lock is 1, 2, 3, ABC.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Okay, wait. Remember my favorite team is the Boston Red Sox.
Here's what I found.
Let me try it again. We have remove here. Remember my favorite team is the Boston Red Sox.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Okay, so I'm teaching it some things. And later, I might, use that with my interactions. So I might say, hey, what was my bike lock? What was my bike lock?
I remember you told me. My bike lock is 123 ABC.
Okay, so it can help me remember things. But I might also ask, how's my favorite team doing?
The Red Sox are in second place in the AL East.
Right? So I'm teaching it, and it's storing that in order to provide me more personalized and better answers in the future. Okay? Another thing that's very important and very hard about building a digital assistant is context. Now, what do I mean by context? Context can mean a lot of things. It can be the context of what I'm talking about, the context of where I am, the context of who I am, the context of my preferences. And so let's dive into some of those. So for example, the first one is the context of what we say. So I might say something like, how tall is the Empire State Building?
381 meters, 443 meters to tip.
Who built it?
Starrett Corporation.
When?
Construction for the Empire State Building started in March 17, 1930.
I'll pause there for a second. That was 3 queries in a row, all about the Empire State Building, and I only said Empire State Building once. Okay? In fact, my third query was when. Out of context, when means nothing, right? Imagine me typing when into a search results page in search engine, right? But in context of the previous queries, that makes sense. So we have to have a way of carrying over the context of what it is I'm talking about across multiple queries, just the way that humans beings do so naturally. Okay? But maybe I can go even further. Find restaurants near there.
I found a few places.
Okay, note, these are restaurants near the Empire State Building. You see the little dot here at the top? And then I can say, what about French ones?
Sure, I found several French places.
So it's refined the list now to French ones. And then I could even say, call the first one.
Calling Petit Poulet.
Don't worry, there's no SIM card. Okay, so there I was able to, have a conversation about the Empire State Building, but then I was able to pivot and ask further things along with that, refine a list, and even refer to something within the list. So those are all elements of context of what it is that I'm talking about. But I might also be of context of where I am. So for example, if I say, how long does it take to get back home?
If you leave at 6:20 p.m., it will take you 10 hours and 54 minutes to get there by public transport.
So how can it provide this response? Well, it knows where I am, and it knows where my home is, because I've said where my home is. And so I live in Zurich, so it's apparently going to take 10 hours for me to get home by public transport. So that's, an element of where I am, but then also an element of who I am, or connected to the things that I choose to store with Google. So for example, I could say, when's my flight?
Your flight is Swiss International Airlines Flight 829 to Zurich, which departs today at 8:35 p.m.
So how does it know this? It knows it because this content is in my Gmail, right? This is the content I choose to store with Google in my Gmail, and the assistant has access to that. So I can also ask it to say, show me my photos of sculptures in Barcelona.
Let's check your Google Photos.
Okay, so here, this is from a recent trip to Barcelona, and clearly these are pictures of sculptures. Now, what's key here, not only did it connect to my Google Photos account, additionally, it picked out the sculptures in Barcelona, right? So that's the part of the amazingness of the image recognition, which is also advancing due to machine learning. I did not go and tag all these photos as sculptures. I would never spend the time to do that. And just to show you how this can actually work in terms of pulling out the right content, I can also say, show me my photos of kids in the mountains.
Here's what I found in your Google Photos.
So you can see here are kids in the mountains. And again, I didn't go and tag these photos individually. Okay, so there's also the context of what I see on the screen. I might say, show me photos of Thomas.
This is what I found in your Google Photos.
Okay, this is a guy I know called Thomas. But if I say, who plays for Bayern Munich?
The roster for FC Bayern Munich includes Robert Lewandowski, James Rodriguez, Manuel Neuer, and others.
And now you see there's a Thomas here. And so now if I ask, show me pictures of Thomas.
Check out these pictures.
So what happened here? There was a change of context in what I was seeing on the screen, right? So when I asked for Bayern Munich, I was seeing Thomas, and it showed me then photos of Thomas. So that is another aspect of context. Okay, so a third element is helping you get things done. Now, these can be very simple tasks, like set an alarm for 8 a.m. Okay, it's already done. Now imagine trying to go to your alarm app, trying to click in, trying to choose 8 a.m. and trying to set, right? That takes several different clicks. And if you can do it by voice, you can do it much more quickly. Or turn on the flashlight. Flashlight didn't turn on. Let's just try that one more time. Turn on the flashlight. Ah, there we go. Okay, that was cool. So I can do simple tasks like that. But we also want to help with further tasks in terms of like completing actual actions in the real world. And so part of the way that we do that is partly by building them ourselves, but partly relying on partners to do that. And so we work with partners to create actions. For example, I could say, talk to 1-800-Flowers.
Okay, let's get 1-800-Flowers.
Hi, welcome to the 1-800-Flowers assistant. Let's get started. Select from one of our curated collections. Which gift would you like to send from the same-day flower delivery collection?
Okay, so I can make some choices here. And
Floral Embrace is a great choice. What address should I send this to? Don't forget to include the apartment number.
okay, you get the quit. Okay, so you get a little bit of a view into that dialogue there. I called on a third party. The third party appeared. It had a different voice. It had a different icon. It has its own personality. And then it can create its own dialogue that leads me through completing an action like buying flowers. And this allows us, to work with a plethora of different partners in order to help users get things done. Now, I briefly mentioned personality, so I do want to say that we do think a lot about what is the personality of the Google Assistant, but also how do partners have their own personality. And so to give you just a little taste of what our personality is, I can say, where were you born?
I was born in a meeting. At first I was just a rough concept. Now I'm out in the world.
Okay, and do you have a family?
Everyone at Google is sort of like my family. If we took a family portrait, the camera would probably have to be on the moon.
Okay, so we have these sort of quirky, fun answers to questions that users might ask if they think they're really talking to another being. Now, just to drive home the getting things done element one level further, I want to actually have my last demo go back to the computer and show you part of what happened at the Google keynote this like one month ago, where we demonstrated duplex, which is a way that we can actually help users talk to other companies. And you'll see what he's about to show.
As I said earlier, our vision for our assistant is to help you get things done. It turns out a big part of getting things done is making a phone call. You may want to get an oil change schedule, maybe call a plumber in the middle of the week, or even schedule a haircut appointment. You know, we are working hard to help users through those moments. We want to connect users to businesses in a good way. Businesses actually rely a lot on this, but even in the US, 60% of small businesses don't have an online booking system set up. We think AI can help with this problem. So let's go back to this example. Let's say you want to ask Google to make you a haircut appointment on Tuesday between 10 and noon. What happens is the Google Assistant makes the call seamlessly in the background for you. So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Sure, what time are you looking for around? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now. Okay, we have a 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's her first name? The first name is Lisa. Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks. Great. Have a great day. Bye.
Okay. So that is just one of the ways that, that we're also working towards actually helping users get things done in the real world. So with that, I'd like to close and essentially point out that we are in this transition to a conversational voice interface that's very exciting. There's a lot of challenges, but machine learning and AI are helping us make advancements there. And one of the sort of three main things that we saw in the demos are, one, that Assistant knows things, and it knows basic things and more complex things. Secondly, it can understand the context of who you are, what you're looking at. And third, its goal is to help you get things done, and that starts with basic stuff, and eventually over time that will move towards more and more complex things. So to end, I want to leave with two questions, which is, how will being able to talk to your devices help you as consumers, but also help you in your businesses? And finally, do you want your customers to interact with you through voice? And if so, check out the Actions on Google platform as a way to actually engage in this revolution that's happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inspiring us,
You're
Tilke.
welcome.